Also, at this time too, you've mentioned a lot of sites and such, and I mean sites with a CITES. But let's talk about your site, SIGHT. No, that would be SITE. Sorry, don't want to confuse. Yeah, don't let me talk too long. All right, but your website under atgpress.com, you have a section as well as, and James still has one too, doesn't he?
Yeah.
All right, now they can go there and just search for the Informer.
Yeah, and then there's 3 particular ones in there. The question is why. That's one of them. There's one there that says War Powers.
Oh yeah, I'm there now. Right.
War Powers in America Today.
Right.
The question is why, and what's the other one there? I can't remember what it is.
Well, what I'm looking at actually was where you have a table, if you will, with banking, government, common sense taxes, foreign America, Social Security, books by the Informer, phone tax, War Powers, and Admiralty.
Okay, yeah, it's up in the very top. It should say War Powers, I think.
Oh, it does. Oh, yes. Yeah. And then you click on that, and it'll take you down the
3 of them that's in there.
Right.
War Powers in America Today.
Right.
The question is why, and that will give you a running history from way back when in 1792 when Washington first started it, all the way up to present day.
All right. So, folks, by all means, please check that out. Is there anything else you want to tell folks about your section of that website?
No, the only thing that I haven't put anything on there is, have you seen the email about the Armin Kondo, the letter that was written by Judge Mercier?
No.
Okay. That just came out again. Now, 1985, Armin Kondo had a group, and he wrote a letter to Mercier, who was supposedly a retired judge, but I think he was a clerk, a federal clerk, and he had some good stuff. And I saw it back then, and there was another guy called Frank May, who I know personally, who wanted to get a little better insight and wrote to Mercier and asked him, gee, the letter you sent to Kondo was good, but I need a little more information. Well, I understand that he wrote him a 747-page letter. Okay? About a whole bunch of stuff. And the one thing in there that they had was what makes you a taxpayer? You know, because he had all these latches and these contracts that are invisible contracts and everything that you have. And in there he says that one of the invisible contracts that makes you a taxpayer is your bank signature card. Well, this goes back in 85, and, you know, I looked at it. He stuck in the back of my mind, didn't think much about it. Another fellow, a friend of mine, he does pretty good. And, you know, we just, one of those things, you know, that it just crops up and you don't pay too much attention to it. Well, in the later years of doing all the research and finding out how the Federal Reserve note is the main reason of the taxation, because it's private script, has a lien on it already issued by the Federal Reserve, so they own it. You only have the use of it. And their situs is in Washington, D.C., naturally, because that's where the Federal Reserve is located. And he says that when you sign your bank signature card, you agree to, and I have seen this, you're supposed to get a 454-page contract. When you sign the signature card, this is not a signature card. That is a contract whereby, if you read on the back of the signature card, it says you abide by all the rules of the bank. Well, wait a minute. All the banks are private, right? They're all owned by the Federal Reserve.
Exactly.
Well,
most
controlled by the Federal Reserve. They're all separately there. There's state banks or federal banks, but they all get their directives from who?
The Bank of England.
Well, their front guy down here in the...
Oh, okay, yeah. Or whoever is the, right.
Secretary of Treasury.
Oh, okay. I was going to say the head of the Fed. All right.
No. Well, the Secretary of Treasury just so happens to be the governor of the International Monetary Fund.
Oh, Wolfowitz? Who is it now?
I don't know, some idiot. I can't remember his name.
Who, the the Secretary of the Treasury.
Secretary of the Treasury.
All right, okay.
He's the Secretary of the Treasury, but not of the United States. He's the Secretary of the Treasury of the Federal Reserve.
All right.
And he's also the governor of the International Monetary Fund.
Okay.
And the World Bank. And the Attorney General is the second alternate. So Gonzalez is the second alternate, and that's why neither one of them can subscribe an oath of office under Title 5 U.S.C. 3331. They can't, because the minute they sign, they're in treason. Because they stand up and take an oral oath, but they don't subscribe the oath, because they're not officially United States citizens, because they are operating for a foreign concern.
Okay, now, the foreign concern would be...
The foreign concern would be the Bank of England.
Bank of England, okay, right.
Yeah, because the Federal Reserve and the Bank of England is one and the same. Now, so Mercier said when you sign that signature card, then you agree to the bankruptcy, you agree to pay all debts, you agree to 7203 of Title 26, and you agree to all of Title 26. That's your contract that makes you a taxpayer. No matter what you argue, it can't be a constitutional issue because it's a private contract, and private contracts take precedent over any constitutional issue. And that's why the judges said, don't bring the Constitution in here. It don't apply. You got a private contract. But they don't tell you you got a private contract. And everybody wonders, where is this private contract? Well, it's your signature card.
So when somebody goes in and says, I'd just like to open a checking account?
That's right.
They're already...
Savings, whatever. It doesn't matter. And the reason why I found this out is when the Bobby Carey case in 1995, when he sued the IRS, the International Monetary Fund, the governor, and all those like you should, we had 3 days in a building where we could not take the 454-page contract out of their site. So John Nelson and me and about 5 other researchers were there because I was an expert witness. Mm-hmm. We had 3 days to look at it. Now, you can't digest 454 pages of all this fine legalese in 3 days. I don't care how many people, we was all looking at it. We had one book. And how many people can get around? You got 3 people looking over each other's shoulder, you know?
Right.
But in there, oh, man, I mean, you know, you give your life away.
Well,
but now, Mercier said that this is how they do it. But I'm thinking just the other day, when I got it again and looked at it, that, hey, wait a minute. UCC is involved. It's private international law. It's private contract. Therefore, it's fraud on the factum because they never gave you the contract to begin with. Mm-hmm. And under UCC, with the acceptance going into Title Section 9 of the UCC, you got to read all that, and then go into your contract acceptance in Chapter 3, and you'll see how you can get out of it. But once you know, and you go in, you can't get out of it, because you are forewarned.
Well, what do you mean by once you know? In other words, if you have this information and then you sign...
If you have this information, you can't fall back on it and say, I didn't know. They didn't tell me. Well, wait a minute, you knew. But this is only for people that don't know.
Well, okay, so now I say I know.
Well, you really don't. You just heard it from me.
Right.
You don't have an authoritative source where you know from.
Well, how would you demonstrate?
Well, that's right. There you go. There's the fraud. See how they got you?
Well, how would one demonstrate a previous knowledge?
You ask them under FOIA. What is the basis of authority that you have on a contract that I might have signed that brought me into your fold? Sort of, you know, in a roundabout way. You can phrase it any way you want.
Right.
But that is how you have to do it. And I don't know if you'll ever get an answer. I've never tried it. I didn't have to. When I did my complaint, I went right to the source, and I got non-taxpayer status and yada 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 since 1998. I don't have to worry about it.
You don't pay IRS?
No.
So what do you think about that Ed Brown situation?
He doesn't know. He's out in left field somewhere.
This is really misguided, isn't it?
Yeah, totally misguided.
And it's going to only come to ruination, probably.
Yeah. He's going down the tube. See, anytime anybody goes into court, anytime, consider yourself cooked. You're done. You lost. The minute you step into court, you lost. All it is how much money are you going to give us, how many years you want to spend in jail. I just had a friend